Hi guys, welcome back to Verified. So, in an earlier video, we discussed into details the Affidavit of Support or the financial support document. And we discussed the two types, that is the Form I-864 and the Form I-134. And we saw that the Form I-864 is used for the immigrant visa and the Form I-134 is for the non-immigrant visa. But we also saw that for the diversity visa, which is an immigrant visa, you will be required to have the Form I-134. In today's video, I want us to go into details how to fill in the Form I-134. You go to your browser and type Form I-134 and you search and you click this first link under the website uscis.gov and this page comes. You'll see this online form, the online Form I-134, but this is for special case, and in this case for the Ukrainians because of the situation that is currently happening. So it is only for special case, and here it says for the Uniting for Ukraine. So only in these special cases will you be required to fill in an online form. But for other nations, every other diversity selectee will require to have the physical document, which is downloadable at this point. When you scroll down here, you'll find forms and documents downloads. So you'll have to download this. So you click and then you have this form, and then you'll go ahead and download it and fill it. A physical form is required. So this is the Form I-134 that you as a diversity visa winner will require as a financial support document, the Affidavit of Support. So this is the Form I-134, and before we start discussing on it, you should notice that it is generally divided into two portions. That is the part for the beneficiary and the part for the sponsor. And let's go directly to it. The first part is I am filling this form on behalf of, and since it is the sponsor filling in this form, he or she will have to select filling for another one because they are filling for a beneficiary, not for themselves. And then part two, it is the information about the beneficiary. This is the principal applicant. And when the principal applicant fills this document, he covers the family or the derivatives. Now, you fill in the information about the beneficiary, that is the names, all the three names, and if they have ever used other names, fill for them in here. And then give all the information, the date of birth. And when it comes to alien registration number, you might leave this blank because the diversity visa winner has never been to the United States, meaning he or she has never been given or issued with the alien registration number. So leave it blank. And then you continue to fill in the information about the town, the city, the country of citizenship, the marital status, and in all this, if you check any of this, you need to have the supporting document, and that is it. You continue to fill in the information about the beneficiary. the address. And this address is simply where the beneficiary currently is living at or living in. So you give all the information about the beneficiary. And if you have filled this part, you don't have to fill the second part here about the address. And you are asked, are the beneficiary's mailing address and the physical address the same? If you check yes, then you don't have to fill this second part. But if you select no, you'll have to fill in the second part of the physical address. But click yes, and then leave this second part. Then we come here, you give the beneficiary's telephone number or the mobile number and the email address of the beneficiary. We still continue with the beneficiary, and we have to say up to how long is the beneficiary going to stay. And since this is a diversity visa winner, he or she is coming to stay permanently. So you have to select the start date, but no end date here. But the starting date, you just select a month or two since the time you're filling this form. And then still on the beneficiary's information, you have to capture the financial information of the beneficiary. And this is an advice to you. When filling in this part, make sure you indicate the income contribution of the beneficiary as 0. This is to prevent many arising issues. So you come here, you put the principal beneficiary, the principal applicant, the names, the date of birth, and then you say the beneficiary, and then you put the amount contribution 0. Then you add the derivative, maybe the wife, her date of birth, or the husband and his date of birth, and then you say wife or husband, and then you put the contribution to be 0. You go ahead to the sons and daughters, maybe the son or the daughter. Then you put the date of birth, and then maybe the daughter or the son, and then you put as 0, and you proceed to fill in the information. But remember to keep it at 0 to prevent many hassles. This is because the beneficiary, who is the diversity visa winner, has never been to the United States. So they might not be having any asset or any income over in the United States. And then we go on. If you have filled that part, then you have to say, are they coming from legal or illegal means? And definitely it would be no. And if it is yes, of which I don't think it would be, then you list the total amount that he earns or she earns from illegal means. And if you answered yes, what amount of the beneficiary's total income comes from the means tested public benefit? Since the beneficiary has never been to the United States, then you don't have to fill this part because he does not enjoy or she does not enjoy the total income by means tested public. So you leave this part blank. And then we proceed. Still on the beneficiaries. Then you have to state the assets of the beneficiary, that is the diversity visa winner or the immigrant. The immigrant simply does not have any asset over in the United States. So you don't have to list this unless the immigrant or the person you're sponsoring has before been to the United States and they own properties, they own assets in the United States. Then you can proceed and add here, but it will require appraisal. They must be evaluated and you should have the documents. So for you to avoid many hassles, then just leave this beneficiary assets part empty. And then we come here on the part of the sponsor. But before we come to this part, I would advise as well for you as the beneficiary, you as the diversity visa winner, to fill the first part about the beneficiary yourself to increase the accuracy. The sponsor might not be knowing you that well. So it is better you fill your part and then you save and then email your sponsor to fill in her part or his part. That will increase the accuracy. I think it makes sense. Then we come to the third part now. This is about the sponsor. Now, the sponsor will put in their details in this part. The names, also the used names, and then we come to the mailing address. You put the mailing address here. And then we are asked, is your current mailing address the same as the current physical address? Of course, it will be yes. And if it is no, then you'll have to fill in the second part for the physical address, of which normally it's not possible. Then you proceed to plug in your date of birth, the place of birth, the alien registration number. Yeah, and if you have the USCIS account, also fill it in here. And then we come to this. What is your relationship with the beneficiary? Is the beneficiary or the diversity visa winner your friend? Is he the member of your family? Is it a person you just met? So you indicate the relationship, maybe a friend, maybe a sibling, or a parent, and so on. And then you give the immigration status. You as the sponsor, are you a US citizen? Are you a US national? Are you a lawful permanent resident? Or are you an immigrant? So you check one of these. But hold on. For the non-immigrant part, you will have to attach the Form I-94. And this Form I-94 will have the details of your stay. How long are you staying in the United States? And is that length of time of your stay enough for you to sponsor this immigrant? So you'll have to provide Form I-94. And then we proceed, we come to the employment information of you as a sponsor. And it is highly advisable that you provide the employment information. And you should be under employment basis, because you may be unemployed and you may have retired, meaning you'll have to provide extra documentation to prove your ability to sponsor the immigrant. And that will take some process. But if you are employed, it's simply you check the employed box, and this is the simplest way to prove your ability to sponsor the immigrant. So employment is the best option. And then you proceed to give in the information about your employer. Yes, they might not contact your employer, but it is there to show proof. And then you give the employer's address and contact information and the place and the street where they are located. And then after that, we come to the financial information. Now, you as the sponsor, your financial information. And here is where that will prove that you really can sponsor this immigrant. Therefore, you put in here your name, your date of birth, and then you specify if it is you sponsoring, you say self, and then you give your annual income, maybe 63,000 US dollars. And then if you have a child or a wife, then you put in here your wife, her date of birth, And then you put in wife and then her income. If it is the husband, the same way. Then you come here, maybe you have a son and the date of birth, and maybe he or she is working. Then you can just say son, and then give the total amount here, like 24,000. Maybe the wife is earning 60, just as an example. Then you provide the total here. You see, we have the total here. Now, this is important. Make sure you fill this part. And then you have to declare, does any of the income listed above come from illegal sources? Of course, you'll say no. And if yes, the amount that comes from the illegal business, you indicate here. But that's not a wise thing to do. Do you enjoy any means tested public benefits? If so, you say yes. And if it's yes, what amount of the means tested public benefits do you enjoy? You plug it in here. And then we come to the assets for the beneficiary. And then again, I would advise you to prevent this part. Since your income is sufficient as proof, just avoid this part, leave it blank. But if your income is not sufficient, then you can go ahead to do some appraisals of your property, of your car and everything, and provide those documents, maybe the mortgage statement or the appraisal documents to prove this. But that will require a long process. Then why would you require it? Let the income statement stand in for you. Simple as that. And then we continue. Have you previously submitted Form I-134? Have you previously supported or sponsored anyone? Or are you currently having that sponsor under your care? If so, you will require to fill in their information in here. And that's why it is highly advisable for you to sponsor one individual at a time. If you are able, you can sponsor multiple and fill in their information here. There's no problem with that. No problem at all. But if you are able to sponsor one individual at a time, do so to prevent all these hassles. And then we come to this very critical part, and many people, they become screwed with this part. And it is the information about the individual agreeing to financially support the beneficiary, that is a sponsor. Now, people ask, how do I fill this part? But my advice is this, that don't commit yourself to giving in some cash. Or if you do so, don't be definite. For example, you say, I intend, but in here, you don't be specific. You say maybe, I'll stand in and provide the cash as needed or as long as it is needed. Or alternatively, you avoid that and you check the second, I do not intend to make any specific contribution. And that is what I would recommend. Don't commit yourself that you will be giving specific contribution to the support of the immigrant. And then we go on. If you are the beneficiary and are filling Form I-134 on your behalf, complete Part 4. Now, you as the beneficiary, you'll have to clearly state that you do understand English and you understand everything that has been said in this form. So you'll have to check this information here. But if you don't understand and you require an interpreter, then you'll have to check the second box, of which I don't think you require because majority of you understand English. So you'll have to check this. Again, if you check that you have the interpreter, you'll have to fill Part 6. Now, after filling that information, as the beneficiary, you will have to provide your signature. And this is by a black pen. And then here we have the contacts for the sponsor. He provide or she provides the telephone or the mobile phone numbers. And then he or she will also have to provide the signature. He or she will have to provide the signature and the date when they signed. And if you had selected that you needed an interpreter, the interpreter's information goes in here on this part. And then he will have to certify this and then provide the signature and the date when they signed. And then if you needed someone to help you prepare this document, then the preparer's details will go in here as well. So if someone helped you, make sure the details go in here. The preparer will also have to provide the signature. And remember, all these signatures should be in black. And then we come to the last part, which is this part, and it's part 8. The part 8 is the space provided for you to add extra information that you had no enough space to add before. For example, if under the part of the derivatives, you had more derivatives than the provided spaces, the extra derivatives will be added in this part. For example, you had added yourself as the principal applicant, your wife, your son, maybe you have other 3 sons. So one son will miss spaces or one daughter will miss spaces to be added in here. So what do? You take this is page 3. And what part is this? This part is part 2. And also the item number is item number 17. So you take the page number, the part number, and the item number. And then you come down here to part 8. And then you start here. You put the name of the son or the daughter. And then you can leave this empty because they would not be having the alien number. And then you indicate the page number, which we saw was page 3. The part number we saw was part 2 for this instance. And the item number was item number 17. So you indicate that, and then you add the information about your son or your daughter or your derivative. So this part is generally for you to add information to the parts that you didn't have enough space to add. And that brings us to the end of the video, and I hope it was informative. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, and if you have, please consider liking the video. And let's meet in the next video.